I am going to give you guys a tour of my home and show you how the Right Brain Business Plan by Jennifer Lee has exploded in my home office. Hi friends, the last time you saw me was in my DIY gratitude journal where we used old birthday cards and Christmas cards to create a journal that you can keep happy moments and things that you are grateful for in. If you haven't seen that video, then I will put a link below because that is what inspired today's video. After taking the Right Brain Business Plan course on Creative Live, I quickly went to my gratitude journal and wrote down, I am incredibly grateful for the Right Brain Business Plan. And it dawned on me that if it was that important to me to add to my gratitude journal, that I should at least share it with you guys so that you guys could check it out for yourself, because it had meaning for me and it possibly may have meaning for you. So this video today isn't going to be a critique of the book or the Right Brain Business Plan process, as it is just me sharing my experiences and how it's changed the way that I'm currently working, and just my overall positive thoughts on the plan. Because personally, if there's anything negative I have to say, it's quite nitpicking, because overall it was absolutely fantastic. The way it started is this year it dawned on me that there was no need to hold off any longer, because I've been holding off for years to start my business of Simply Art. And I will be doing a whole announcement video of Simply Art as my new business venture, but that'll be in a later video. So if you just hear Simply Art, just know that more details are coming soon. But it dawned on me this year that I can totally start a business while holding true to my values of starting a business debt-free. And up until this point, I realized that there would be no way to start a business without taking a loan or saving up a great deal of money, and I didn't have either, nor did I want to take out any loans, because personally my husband and I are getting out of personal debt, our school loan and such, to go along with our personal growth goals. So it was really important to me that if I wanted to start a business, that it also be started debt-free. So that being said, I have had Simply Art in mind for years, and I have always held it back because I thought it would take a large investment. And that's because I wanted a brick and mortar. I realized that I could take those brick and mortar services and activities and even the ideals I wanted behind the location and implement them onto the web. So once I finally came to the conclusion, which was just literally this year, that I didn't need a large investment to start my business, and that it was truly having nothing to do about money but my own insecurities that was keeping me from having my business, I started to research a better way to plan for my business. I'm gonna grab something. It is so heavy, physically and mentally. This bad boy here, you can see it says Simply Art. This has been years in the making. And I believe I started this when I lived in Las Vegas after leaving my corporate job. And this is when I planned on having a brick and mortar place that I would call Simply Art. Again, I'll share more details about that later. But when I planned this, it was very much traditional and normal, and it drained me. Inside of here would be what most would consider a normal business plan. And when creating this business plan, I was creating it in the goal of getting money. But I started feeling as if I was working for someone else again, because I was working for bankers to give me money. And so I was no longer working on Simply Art for myself, but for the end goal of money. And that wasn't my goal at all. So this has been collecting dust for years now, because I find no inspiration in the business plan, because again, I wasn't writing it for myself or my customers. I was writing it for the banks. So this has just kind of been sitting here useless. So I wanted to revisit planning for my business, and I started researching books. When I started researching books, I came across, I hope you guys could see this, it might give a glare on the screen from my Kindle, but it says The Right Brain Business Plan by Jennifer Lee, a creative visual map for success. A fantastic book. It says something at the top. Okay, yeah. So this book is amazing, and I'm not even finished with it, because again, you're wondering, why would I critique a book if I'm not finished with it? This isn't a critique, it's just my process and my thoughts thus far. With the Right Brain Business Plan book, in the first, I don't know if it's the first chapter or if it's one of the beginning chapters, but there's a visualization exercise that Jennifer asks us to do. She referred to herself as Jen in the Creative Live workshop that I took, so I don't know if I should call her Jen or Jennifer, but Jen, if you're watching, I apologize. I'm not sure what you prefer to be called, and we'll talk about the Creative Live workshop in a minute, but I wanted to tell you how I found the book and why I loved it. So I found the book because I was inspired to think about my business plan in a new way. So once I found the book, I started reading it. I had no expectations. Of course, I had downloaded a sample of it first, and I was hooked on the sample, so I went into getting the book. I believe the book was $10 on Kindle, but I will try to link below. You could get it on your iPad. You can get it, of course, as a, I don't want to say normal book, but a hardcover or a paper book. Which, by the way, if I had a regret, it would be that I haven't purchased an actual paper book yet. During the Creative Live workshop, which again we'll talk about later, it was really hard to follow along, seeing how as the page numbers related to the actual book versus the digital book. I get the sample, I read the sample, I download the book, and it's either in the first or second chapter that there's this visualization exercise. And during the visualization exercise, Jen asks us to visualize our business 2 years from now, 5 years from now, where we're at the peak or when it's very successful. And it was an easy exercise for me because I do have a very large imagination, and again, this has been in my heart for a very long time. I believe it was like 15 minutes worth of meditation where she asked you certain questions to visualize your business, and at the end of that visualization, she then asked us to say goodbye to our work environment, whatever it may be, and for me it was a public studio. So I'm saying goodbye, and in the visualization she says, don't worry, you can always come back to it, but do whatever you need to do to say goodbye. And this is almost hard to explain now because it brings back the feelings I had a couple weeks ago when I first did the visualization. When I had to say goodbye in my mind to my place, it made me teary-eyed. And when I completely came to, and I was fully aware of my surroundings and the visualization was over, I realized that I had been crying. And they weren't sad tears, they were longing tears. They were, I was a little disheartened to have to say goodbye to something that I wanted so much. And it was tears of joy to realize that if my mind could imagine it so vividly, it truly could happen. So once the visualization was over, again, this is either in the first chapter or one of the beginning chapters, I was hooked. It was such an amazing experience for me that I couldn't put the book down. And the only reason I haven't finished the book is because I get so wrapped up in the actual projects, because it is a teaching book, but a project-based book as well, where she asks you to do certain exercises. So sure enough, I go onto her website. I want to learn more about her as an author because I felt right away a kindred spirit to her. And I realized that she was having a workshop through Creative Live, another website that I had never heard of, which I am also a fan of. I could do a whole nother review on and rant on that. But the Creative Live workshop was for 3 days where she would discuss her Right Brain business plan process. And it was free if you wanted to watch it live, and if you wanted to, have it ongoing and be able to go back to it, then you would pay for it. I don't remember how much that was, but it totally would have been worth it. And if I wouldn't have already had the book, I would have bought the actual workshop. So, okay, so the workshop was phenomenal. It was great on Jen's part. It was fantastic on Creative Live's technical part. It had a forum. There was an actual studio audience there that was fantastic. And all in all, it was just great. So now that I've ranted about that, I just want to show you how Jen and her process has changed not only me and my psyche, but actual physical space that I'm in. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you, and it's nowhere near complete, but I wanted to give you a sneak peek anyway. This is my business plan. What a big difference between this nonsense here and this. Inspiring, not so much. Fun, missing glitter. So this is my business plan. And again, I realize that if in the future I want to find an angel investor or get some sort of suit to give me money, that this isn't going to cut it and I would have to go back to that folder. But the goal was not to get money. The goal was for me to understand my business and my customers and all the things that I truly love and want to share. So in here, I have everything from my big vision, which if you get Jen's book, she'll explain what that is. And of course, the term big vision, I'm sure, is self-explanatory. But this was that visualization that I saw in my mind. Inside of my book, I have pockets where I have each individual exercise from the book. So this book is actually double its size because each one is an envelope that I've cut open and then stuck some goodies inside. So this has my values. This has pretty much everything that you would see in a normal business plan, but redone in a more creative way. So here's my book, right? She also goes into goals. And this has probably been one of the more helpful things. This is a download that you receive once you've purchased the ebook. I'm not sure if it's free if you don't get the book, but it's this handout here. Her graphic designer, Kate, is phenomenal. I love all her work. So Jen, if you're watching this, please, as a fellow graphic designer by trade, let her know. Great work. There we go. I have my quarterly goals. And then I also have this area here broken up into two parts. These goals here don't necessarily make me money, but they are extremely important, such as getting more YouTube subscribers or getting more email recipients to my newsletter, those things. And then these are my money makers, or as Jen describes them in her book as moolah makers. So in here are where all my goals are for the year on how I plan on providing my services and my products. Now, she had us do some work that was large, and I live in a very tiny place, so I thought it would be comical to you guys to see how I've displayed some of my work and some of her tidbits that she suggests doing in your office in such a tiny space. So I'm gonna grab the camera and I'm gonna walk you guys around. If you've seen my office tour or my home tour in one of my earlier videos, then you'll remember most of this setup and you'll see slight differences. So I am going to give you guys a tour of my home and show you how the Right Brain Business Plan by Jennifer Lee has exploded in my home office. Okay, so stepping back here, I'm sure this will look familiar to you guys. This is my current office setup, which is supposed to be a dining room, but my art is more important than my food. So it is my art studio slash workspace. This picture here is actually my business self-portrait, which was one of the exercises in the book. It is a painting mixed media piece, and I adore it. As you could tell, I do not have much wall space. There's my printer poster there. Can't take that down. But some of the things that have changed is this here. Oh, here's a little poodle cameo. This is the moolah map. This was one of the exercises that Jen had us do, where the pink here is money going out and the green here is money coming in. This is supposed to be hanging on my wall, but my little poodle here likes to rub up against it and knock it down, so it refuses to stay. I think he's trying to tell me that he's so much more important than money, but that's supposed to be stuck to my wall. Another big change is I've actually condensed all of my makeup, and for those of you who watch my videos or know me personally know that I love my makeup, and one of the sacrifices that I made for my business, Simply Art, was to consolidate my makeup into one drawer, so it no longer took up a great deal of space. What I'm doing with the rest of my makeup is selling it. Everything in here is things for sale. Makeup, purses, other personal items. I'm selling an office chair. And the only reason I'm doing that is to come up with money for my business, something that's more important to me than makeup and clothes. So then you see this monster here on my wall. This was a calendar that was shown in the Creative Live workshop that Jen hosted. And when I saw it, I quickly went onto Google and started researching giant calendars, and I had found it. And when I found it, it wasn't any more than 10 minutes, and Jen, the instructor, author of the Right Brain Business Plan, said where she had got it. And I knew right then and there, I was like, no, don't do it. As soon as she threw out the name and where she purchased the calendar, I knew it was going to be sold out. And sure enough, the very next day I went to purchase it and it was sold out online. It was at the Paper Source. And so I actually drove to, I live in San Clemente, and I drove to South Coast Plaza, which is about, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes away from me, to actually go to a Paper Source store, and they had them there. So, because it did mean a lot to me to have this calendar. Now, in her creative space, this is all on one wall. My little space, I had to divide it up into 2 walls. She actually has a free video on how she discusses her calendar and how she uses her sticky notes. But each sticky note is for something different for me, such as YouTube. I plan on creating a coloring book this year, a children's book this year, and of course I have my online workshops and products. I still sell my jewelry, so all of these post-it notes here are for different things. And then I have a key stuck on here that tells you which each thing means. And then of course there's my debt-free poster that I created using Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover book. And I keep that up there to remind me what my goals are, as well as my husband's goals. So in conclusion, if you are in the market for that type of subject matter, then I would totally recommend checking out Jennifer Lee's book, The Right Brain Business Plan. At least download a sample if you've got some sort of tablet, iPhone, whatever you've got. At least get the sample, because you're going to be totally sold on it. And as far as my next video is concerned, it is going to be February 1st, and it is going to be discussing in more detail Simply Art and its upcoming launch of its website on April 31st is my goal, in conjunction with a Valentine's freebie that I'm going to be offering you guys, as well as a handmade Valentine's card for me. So if you're interested in getting some happy mail from me, then please subscribe if you haven't already. And for all of my current subbies, I will see you in my Valentine's video. And thanks for watching this one. And I hope you guys are having a great day. Cheers!